back to the four freedoms. I think it's so important that we periodically return to founding principles. And one of the founding principles of this country, at the time it was, basically only applied to white males, but it was still a founding principle, and we have expanded that franchise over the years, thank God. One of the founding principles is we're all in this together. And that the reason why we have democratic institutions, the reason why we have government, is to provide for the health and happiness of the people, for the general welfare of the people. In fact, the Declaration of Independence even goes so far as to say when a government fails to provide for the health and welfare of the people, it is their duty, their obligation to overthrow that government and create a new. So we were, our founding documents are so clear that the purpose of government is to do something good for everybody in the country, to be there for us, to represent us, and and as a way for us to help ourselves, essentially. I'm looking for my pocket constitution, but I've got so much paper. Here we go. And but I don't need to read you the Declaration of Independence. I think, okay, here it is. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security, which is what we did in 1776. The laws of nature and nature's God entitle them to a decent respect of the opinions of mankind. I mean, it's very, very straightforward. And 74 years ago today, Franklin Roosevelt came out and said, and this I think was the really extraordinary part of his State of the Union address to the 77th Congress. The basic, in fact, let me back it up a little bit. He says, men do not live by bread alone. They do not fight by armaments alone. Those who man our defenses and those behind them who build our defenses must have the stamina and the courage which come from unshakable belief in the manner of life which they are defending. Now, we're fighting World War II. And he's saying we're not just fighting Hitler. We're not just fighting against the bad guys. We are fighting for something. What does our nation stand for? Go back to first principles. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness? The United States of America, the Declaration of Independence was literally the first time any document, any country had ever been birthed in the history of the world with the word happiness as part of its founding document. FDR continued. He said, the mighty action that we are calling for cannot be based on a disregard of all the things worth fighting for. The nation takes great satisfaction and much strength from the things which have been done to make its people conscious of their individual stake in the preservation of democratic life in America, and it's small d democratic. Those things have toughened the fiber of our people, have renewed their faith and strengthened their devotion to the institutions we make ready to protect. Certainly, this is no time for any of us. Now, keep in mind, we're in the middle of a war with Hitler and with Tojo. Certainly, this is no time for any of us to stop thinking about the social and economic problems which are the root cause of the social revolution which is today a supreme factor in the world. He's talking there about communism. For there's nothing mysterious about the foundations of a healthy and strong democracy. Not just communism. Communism, fascism, everything. He said the basic things expected by our people. This is what I want to hear in President Obama's next State of the Union address. The basic things expected by our people of their political and economic systems are simple. Really? President Franklin Roosevelt, what are those things? The basic things expected by the American people of their political and economic system. What are they? He says equality of opportunity for youth and others. And others at that time, I'm assuming, was, encompassed people of color, women, people who were largely disenfranchised in 1940. Equality of opportunity, jobs for those who can work. I asked this question in the last hour, how, in your mind, how would America be different if the government of the United States was the employer of last resort? If there is more than enough work to put in the United States that needs to be done. We're $3 trillion behind in our infrastructure. And that would just take us up to where we should have been if we hadn't stopped spending money when Ronald Reagan became president. If we hadn't stopped the continuous rebuilding of America. But instead we've got, infrastructure that dates back to before the Reagan era. We've got water systems, septic systems, power systems, schools, government. All, basically we've been frozen in amber for 34 years. 34 years, excuse me, since the Reagan Revolution. But how different would our country be if FDR's suggestion that anybody who wants a job should have one? And if capitalism can't provide for that job, if industry can't provide for that job, then it is the obligation of government to provide for that job. Now, what are the things that happen when unemployment goes down to zero? Number one, wages start going up. Competition for jobs gets tighter. Number two, people, if anybody can work, people start walking away from dead-end jobs, or they don't like them jobs, looking for better. These are healthy things. These are good things in a society. Okay, so he said jobs for those who can work. What are the basic things expected by our people in their political and economic systems? Security for those who need it. Security. The ending, this was a standalone paragraph in President Roosevelt's 1940 State of the Union address. The ending of special privilege for the few. Really? I shared with you yesterday the story of this multimillionaire who's flipped out because he thinks that his brother's going to get a free pass on having killed people. We have two criminal justice systems in the United States. There was an article yesterday in the Financial Times about how J.P. Morgan Chase is going to pay $100 million as a fine for something that they did. You see Jamie Dimon being, perp walked? No. We've got two criminal justice systems in this country. One that largely does nothing that other than protect the rich and powerful. And the other that puts more people in prison than any other country in the world among the working class and the poor. That arguably, had its origins back in the slave patrol days. And then finally, Franklin Roosevelt says, what people expect of their government is the preservation of civil liberties for all. Ending special privilege for the few, civil liberties for all. Is it time yet?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Is it too late to reimagine an America that works for everyone? Or have we been too Tea Party-fied by the billionaires?